Indigenous education is about sharing stories of culture, history and heritage. What a unique opportunity we have in early years to make such a difference in the implementation of our Indigenous curriculum. Being able to share stories not just with children but with our community is so important to learn the stories of our past and to think about what we want for the future. I think back 15 years ago, we began in two totally separate spaces. One was thinking about inclusion of Indigenous curriculum within the classroom, and the other was thinking about our Early Explorers program. We connected with Lynette George, Beeru, who was a teacher at the school at the time and has now developed into the role of our Head of Indigenous Initiatives. We worked with our Indigenous elder, Murrindindi. We looked at the research around the forest schools. We wanted it to be contextualised to our community. Our school is not in the bush, but we had bush spaces. And so Early Explorers began, taking out originally our 4 and 5-year-old children out into the bush to be able to explore. Taking children out into the bush naturally connected with our Indigenous curriculum. Over time, these two started to merge. Language became more evident. We now have funding for the language program to include the Woiwurrung language as part of our curriculum. Language is brought back into the classroom. It's evolved. When I move around the centre, it delights me to hear children say, "Good to know, Mrs. Reid." Their knowledge and their understanding of language is so empowering. But what's really exciting is their respect. Respect of culture, respect of history underpins our Indigenous curriculum. How do we be respectful? How do we be inclusive? Sometimes we make mistakes, and for some people it's easier to do nothing than to do it wrong. It's really important that we create a space that's safe and that we can respect cultural diversity and we can understand how we've made mistakes in the past and how we can make a difference in the future.
When we started the implementation of language within the program, it was exciting, but I think it was also, in some respects, a little bit scary, and we had to be brave in the steps that we were taking. The implementation of language is both spontaneous and formalised. Incidentally, when people enter the environment, we greet each other in the morning with Indigenous language as well. This extends through to singing with the children. Kakatu, Gurin Gurin Warigo. Inserting words in favourite stories that we actually might read. More formalised opportunities include the children's ability to recognise the Indigenous flags and have responsibility of placing those out in front of the centre each day. At Early Explorers, the children use their imagination to explore the environment, finding tadpoles in the water, bugs crawling on trees. The very first time being able to climb up onto a tree branch and saying, "I did it." The most exciting part of being able to take children out on country is allowing them to have the freedom to explore and to build connections and to be in the moment in that time and space. The surprise at the children when they put some blackwood leaves between their hands and rub them together and the bubbles that start to come out. Initially, we were so surprised with the sign-up from families. We started with our oldest children, but then realised there was so much scope and opportunity for our youngest children to be out on country also. We're building those connections from a very young age. Children have a natural curiosity and a want to be out in nature. And I actually think parents were really excited at the opportunity to connect with us as an educational team with their children as well and experience some of that learning. Over time, it's become so valued within our community that it's extended to 2 nights on country with children and families. I think as educators, we were very challenged in taking children out into this space where they could be in the moment, but be quite free and autonomous in their learning. I soon discovered when we were out there that children really do stay within their own boundaries and that we were able to facilitate and support, and it actually was okay. The ongoing focus for us is ensuring that learning is authentic and it is respectful to Indigenous heritage and culture.
The name Beeru came from Murrindindi. It's a Wurundjeri name, which means star. So I taught all the kids that I'm a star. I felt that with my children attending Beaconhills, they wanted to be proud of their culture and I wanted them to feel comfortable. So I was able to, with the guidance of Vicky Reid, come into the classes and just in my own time share And that's what it's all about, sharing culture. I did have permission from Murrindindi. He is a Nalangita of the Randori people and an elder of my husband and myself. My aim was to really start local and share with them where they were on country. And we do acknowledge Randori and Bunurong country. I did love storytelling and sharing other Indigenous books. Start young, start early, I think is the best way to go. It's really important that the teachers are in the room with me and the children because they're learning as well. And the children have been so involved with what we're doing, really embracing the whole cultural aspect of learning with listening, with watching, doing, remembering, repeating. The early years children, they'll walk past and they'll talk about the lemon myrtle tree. They'll talk about how it smells and that it's Beeru's favourite plant and that it's bush tucker. So they often share everything they know, talking about Bunjil the eagle, and it just is a really good reminder and it starts that conversation all over again. We've come such a long way from all those years ago when we started with one reconciliation assembly, and then even now Little Beacons does their own reconciliation assembly with children singing and dancing and sharing, to the senior school where they do more of the truth telling and talk about what it really means to be a first Australian. And now it's really good to see parents and students and teachers taking on that advocacy role as well within the community. You're an ally to what we need to speak about within the community and the school.
Wunganjika and Nganga Kundawa. Wunganjika mean welcome. Nganga Kundawa mean come and have a good day. My name is Murrindindi, and my name Murrindindi means a home up in the mountain. My mother gave me that name. I'm Nalangita of the Randori people. What I teach at Little Beacons was taught to me by my grandmother and my mother, and that's been passed down through generation to generation. And we also teach by sitting around in a circle and speaking the language to the students. So when I do come into the school, all the students will say Gujana, and when you go in, they'll say Na Gujin, mean thank you, and Triganin means see you later. So all students embrace the culture, and also the teachers embrace the culture and the language. Little Beacons has Beeru there teaching stories and also teaching symbols and teaching her culture. Her culture is my culture, and we all come together in peace and harmony. We have Mandy Nicholson, and she shares language with the students. Now her language might be slightly different to my language, but that's okay. It's still Wurundjeri and Wurrung language, what's been passed through. In Australia, there's over 500 different dialects of language. I think it's very important language in school today because we're the first people on this country, we're the first people on this land, my ancestors, and a lot of schools do not take on the language and the culture, but at Little Beacons and Beaconhills College, they've taken on the language and it's in the curriculum of education. I think it's very respectful to the elders and to my people. After they leave school, they go to university, they go to work, and a lot of students will also give you a call when they're studying at university about language. And I hope that they will still always remember about the culture and the history that they were taught at school, and I know at Beaconhills they always will.
It's important that we offer opportunity to build understanding and appreciation around Indigenous heritage and culture.
It's about embedding First Nations people's perspectives throughout the curriculum, whether it's in the early years, junior, middle or senior school, and also in our outdoor ed programs.
We don't know where the journey will take us. It's still in its early stages, despite how far we have travelled. The opportunities are endless, and I'm so excited for the future.